we're successful in moving some people to breakout rooms. That's good. 1 second while I get us set up for our discussion here. So before I start sharing my screen, it looks like we've got maybe three really key stakeholders here, and then some Dottie staff and myself. So since our group isn't super huge, why don't we go around and introduce ourselves and kind of our business and everything. Feel free to unmute yourself. We can just talk freely in this room and kind of get into some details. So like I said, I'm Chris Vogelsang. Rachel Galt, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Rachel Galt. I live on Tejon and recently heard about the project. So I'm just trying to get caught up with kind of where things are at. I think my main concern is just the removal of street parking. I'm totally all for the bike lanes and would use them myself, but I think the total removal of street parking on our street is a huge concern because like we have Gaetanos and Cask and Craft and like all these people on this block. I don't know where they would park. So I'm Rachel, excited to be here.
Great, thanks Rachel. I see Cask and Craft, Mark and Sarah. I know we've traded emails, but I'm happy that you're here and could make it. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. We've been thinking a lot about this project over the past week or so. And yeah, we absolutely support bike lanes on Tejon. We've been in business for 6 years and we've always given a 10% discount for bikers. So we consider ourselves very, bike friendly. We have a house in the neighborhood. We're part of this community. We've been open for 6 years. But we definitely have very I would say very serious concerns about kind of our business viability if parking is totally removed from Tejon, especially on the 37 to 3800 block. And we can get into this, but a lot of our customers do rely on the quick convenience of at least a little bit of parking in front of our store to continue to have us be a successful part of the Highlands.
Great. Yeah, that's a great overview, Mark. Thanks for sharing that. And we'll talk a lot more about the specifics. And then I see Prospect Trail Barbershop. It looks like you're still working and trying to attend, so appreciate the effort.
Yeah, I'll introduce us and tell you what's up as far
Okay.
as my name is Brandon. I'm one of the 3 owners here at Prospect Trail. We've been in the neighborhood for a long time up on 32nd Avenue. We always have a little bit of trouble parking up there, mainly because of just so much nonsense traffic. So it was kind of nice to actually have some area for our customers to park and not have to worry about it so much as they were over there. It was hard to find areas, time for them to get there in time. I don't know. Basically, I ride my bike here every day. I commute on my bicycle. I've never had an issue with the whole deal. I don't know. Sorry to be so blunt in all of this, but
No, that's great.
Just and stuff too. So
yeah, Brandon, thanks for taking the time. And I know this is not maybe a super convenient time for everybody. So all you, thanks for taking time out of your day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna share a couple. We've introduced ourselves. Let's kind of get into the details here, and then let's just get some more specific feedback here. So I'm going to share a few things. So first thing I want to share is just the I just want us to make sure we're oriented, right? So right, so we're talking about this this section between 35th and 39th here, and I know that Cask and Craft right here. Where's the barber shop?
There are neighbors. So there are neighbors to the north.
Yeah, right. They're right there they're right in here, right?
Yeah, between Gaetanos and our shop.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's right. I've seen them there. And then so this is where we are. So we can come back to this map and just talk. I know that we intended to be out in the field talking like in front of your store and doing that, so we can kind of do that virtually. I'm gonna share this this basic thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the details. If I can push that, great. Okay, so I want to talk about this segment in more specific detail, and hopefully you've all had a chance to see some information on the website, but I'll run through it and then I can point you to that as well. But what we've shown in our current concept in this area that we're talking about today is primarily protected bike lane. There are a couple spots where there's accessible parking, and so we're trying to accommodate that and make sure that those folks have a place to be. That's kind of one of the things we were looking at. And then this just gives an overview of the land use. So this is where we started. So we have about well, let me say a little differently. So in terms of process, right? So we've been asked, hey, take a look at Tejon and see what it takes to build a high comfort bikeway, right? So that's what we've done, and that's what we're here to share with you. So the sort of the money to do, or the program to do these improvements is really based on not having to reconstruct roadways, right? So like make them 8 feet wider or those kind of things. So we're trying to work within the existing curb to curb space, right? And what we have today is about 40 feet. It's a little less, a little more, but it's pretty much 40 feet in this area. And it's currently made up of parking on both sides and the 2 drive lanes, right? Changes at 38th because of the turn lanes and everything, and we can talk about that. This is what's shown in the current concept, and I know that you guys have all seen and are concerned about. So there's a bike lane in each direction, a drive lane in each direction, and the vertical elements to make it feel safe. The way we came up with that is by looking at the speeds and volumes along this segment. And so we have some criteria in terms of engineering guidelines that talk about, hey, if it's this fast or if there's this many vehicles, in order to feel comfortable, we need more things, more protection, right? And so we've been talking in the Northwest area about facilities all the way from neighborhood bikeways, which are like sort of traffic calming interventions along a local street that make it feel safe and comfortable, all the way up to facilities like this on more major streets where it's we feel like people need more protection. I did want to share, so this is the same width and how we're handling accessible parking locations. And I know there's been some discussion. I'd love to hear from you guys. I know that Brandon said, hey, he bikes on this and he feels pretty comfortable. So this would have kind of normal or narrow sized bike lanes with parking next to it and 2 travel lanes. This is for the speeds and volumes that we are counted on Tejon in this area. This is not recommended for a high comfort facility, like to do the whole way. But I know that it's something that we need to talk about together about how this, how to make the best decision for the community. Okay. And then this is really the big bummer of what that current concept shows, is that all the parking along Tejon goes away. Now we did some parking studies, but they were during the pandemic, right? And so we did only residential parking demand. When we do parking studies, we go out at 5 a.m. to see how many cars are parked. That's kind of a peak residential demand. And then we like to go out at noon, and we like to go out in the evening, and in a quarter like this, maybe even on the weekends, and just see how things are getting used. So we weren't able to do that yet. So I can't tell you that, we know what's going on there. And I'm guessing that especially the area around 38th is pretty parked up, right? Most of the day. That's been your experience. So, so what this shows is, what the impacts of that concept would be. And usually what we do is we try to look at the whole area as a system and look at the side streets and see if we can accommodate parking on those that are maybe not directly adjacent. Mark and Sarah, you guys brought up the point that 38th doesn't have on-street parking today, right? And so it's kind of, the side street opportunities are a little more limited, I think, up in this area than maybe in some others.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at,
Sorry, go ahead.
just really quick, yeah. To that point, looking at the map, I think this little business district that sits kind of on the northern part of that half block,
Yeah.
we're the only businesses that have to contend with, not 2 cross streets, but only one.
Right. Hey, Brandon, if you
Yes.
could you mute for us unless you want, if you have something.
No,
That's no problem. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I
Go
wanted
ahead.
to add also, and I don't know if you were getting to this in that 38th to 39th block. I'm really not thinking people are going to park there or anywhere near that 39th area to cross 38th. 38th is so dangerous that pedestrians will not, willingly walk across the street to come down into that business district. So that puts that out of the question too.
That's a great point. So you guys are kind of have a barrier, right? Right at the north end where you don't have as many cross street opportunities, and to the north of that isn't really a great option for you.
Exactly.
Correct.
Great. Well, that's not great, but that's good to hear that perspective. Yeah, let's, I just have some questions here to just kind of see this, but I think I'm going to stop sharing and just let us talk and get a little more into detail about everything. So I see we had a few more folks join us, and we just been kind of getting up to speed. So I think it looks like it's Tim Geisen. Do I have that right? Yeah. What's maybe introduce yourself and what your interest is.
Cool. Tim Geeson. I love beer. I love haircuts. I love business, and I love biking. 36th and Vallejo.
Great. Thank you, Tim. And then I see it says Seneca on my screen. If you're there and want to introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, my name is Seneca Holmes, and I live on 36 in Tejon.
Super. So we've got, just so you guys know, that we really started this with a focus on business outreach, and we're glad some residents are here too. But we want to talk, we kind of want to talk about everything and get everybody's viewpoints. So, I'm going to stop sharing this so we can just, I'll figure it out. Stop there. Good. Oh, I did stop sharing. I'm sorry. We're just looking at each other now. Thanks. I think maybe Rachel, and I think I got an email from you earlier.
Yeah, I sent you an email yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, why not maybe tell us from a resident's perspective, kind of what you think and what you're hoping Lowell or Tejon can look like. Sorry.
Yeah. So at my resident, I have a space, for one car. So that works because I'm now permanently working from home, and so I don't need more than one car. So I can make it work personally. But at any time I have guests over, if I have family come, they actively use the street parking, or if I did need to get a second car, I would definitely need to use the street parking. And I know, none of my neighbors were able to join, but we all have varying situations of space in our garage. So I have a neighbor who he only parks on the street. And if that was taken away, we have 37th, there are some other options, but I think in terms of, I pretty much see that the street full consistently. And so I'm curious to see when you do the other studies, kind of the results that you get there. But I think I'm thinking of it not only from my personal use, also if I go to sell, being able to say there's readily available street parking, versus nope, you have your one spot in your garage. We don't have any additional driveway parking based on our group. Can't think of the word for it, but we are
or the
park in our
HOAs,
garage, or sorry, in our driveways. And that's not an additional parking spot for us. So it's pretty much in the garage or on the street. So it's I'm kind of thinking of it active use, and then also long-term value of having street parking, and knowing it is near a busier street. I think it is helpful to have parking on Tejon versus like nothing being available on 38th.
Okay. Yeah, let's let everybody kind of weigh in with their initial thoughts. I know we heard from Brandon, I think. So Tim, maybe what are your, why are you here and what are you interested in?
Yeah, it's a challenging dilemma. I understand the pain of change and the challenge it is for business. As a biker that's been kind of lives within 2 miles of my home and loves biking safely. And I've been hearing about the bike lanes on Tennyson on Tejon for 5 years, and I want them to happen to some extent to continue that possibility of safe biking from the downtown corridor back into the neighborhood. I also understand that the businesses, particularly on that last block, rely heavily on some parking there. So I'm weighing in on the bike piece as a biker, but I appreciate the need, and I know that some of the businesses there are direly, is not the right word, but really need some spots there for their businesses that people pull in for 2 minutes, get something, go. So I know that they need some sort of parking options.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And Seneca, do you have some thoughts to share, or are you good? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've only recently been aware of some of these plans. I have seen some of your outreach, and I understand it takes a little while to reach everybody. And so I'm appreciative of your efforts. I really I think about this from an equity standpoint. There's a lot of people who live on Tejon, and granted, like this neighborhood is gentrifying very quickly. Lots of people have amenities now with the new builds for parking off street. That is not the case with everybody. A lot of people rely on street parking, and I feel like in the effort of doing this, which I totally agree with, there is also an equitability aspect to this that is not maybe being fully appreciative of the folks that have a car. They don't have any parking spots. And then I'm also worried too about what this means for the rest of the community that is removed from Tejon. So you would effectively, at least at my intersection, start pushing parking to residential areas near schools, which I think is not on both sides. So both on the Sandoval side to the west and the Bryant Webster side to the east. And I have real concerns about that.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for that. So like some of the maybe unintended consequences of push the bubble into the neighborhoods and near places where maybe we don't want as high an activity of parking or traffic or those kind of things.
Well, I don't want it to be lost though either that there's an equitability aspect, right? People don't have garages, particularly in some of these higher density corridors. And that's the housing where you have increasingly less middle and higher income availability. And you're denying then folks access to parking spaces. So please don't lose that.
Thanks for clarifying the equity issue. If I restate and tell me if we have it right, it's because I want to make sure we catch it in the notes. It's really about, is it equitable to put these to take parking away from maybe lower income folks that don't have off-street parking opportunities, and that it's an undue burden on that segment. Does that sound right?
Well, there aren't a whole bunch of lower income people actually living in the neighborhood anymore. I would say it's more moderate income folks. But yes, that's absolutely right.
Okay, got it. So what happens if I have a house or a business and I don't have any off-street parking, and now what is that, equitable? Is that fair? Okay. Yeah, we've got about a little less than 10 minutes, I think, left, and kind of want to circle back through. So let's talk about ideas. So like I said, where we have our current concept, and we want to share it with you to get feedback. We knew that there'd be a lot of interest and maybe some good ideas about how we could adapt or adjust to make it work, or try to find a common ground. I feel like I hear a common ground that we want to have good mobility, but we want to balance that against the impacts to housing and to business. So maybe I start with Mark and Sarah, and we can just have a free discussion.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for all the neighbors who also joined us tonight. And nice to see you, Karen, down there. Let's see, I wanted to kind of just ask a question. In this design, has there been thought and effort put toward some traffic calming measures along Tejon? Because I would agree that there are high speeds there. It just is a thoroughfare. And yeah, I would imagine it's not easy for a biker who's inexperienced, or even maybe an experienced biker, to go through there in some areas. But if we're contemplating areas where we may be able to keep some parking, is there some way to do some traffic calming measures that would help support that and make everyone a little bit safer?
Specifically, and I've been at our location for 6 years. I know our street as good as anyone, as good as anyone. A stop sign at 37th would do a lot to slow traffic down through that corridor. I don't know if that's feasible, obviously, but people, especially what I see is people turning south onto Tejon from 38th Avenue. They wait at that light and they hit that, they go southbound, and they can get up to 50 miles an hour on the right-hand side of the street, so headed south, and just rip through there. It's really, really dangerous. So it's just something as simple as a stop sign could potentially slow traffic down through there. But to answer your initial question and kind of freewheel off it, I think what we'd be looking for is, we would be happy, obviously, to keep a little bit of parking on Tejon if at all possible. I don't want to undersell the fact that I really am concerned about the economic viability of our little corner, the 4 businesses, 3 are new, and me, and the barriers that we face with having all parking removed and having 38th Avenue nearby. A few parking spaces we wouldn't ask for a lot if that's at all possible. That's really what we'd be looking for, including a timed, or even like a loading zone or something where someone could just pop in really quickly, a 30-minute limit or something like that. Would really, I think, go a long way to help us continue to be a thriving part of this community that we own a house in, and we have a business in, and that we love a lot.
That's great. Go ahead, Sarah.
Oh, sorry, I'll add, and I think I shared in the email with you, Chris, that we don't have the type of goods sold where people can just walk 3 blocks with a case of wine that they might have just purchased. So having that door-to-door access is really something we need for our business to thrive.
I look at our sales just today, and just to give you a very brief point, 40% of our revenue is driven by wine sales and beer of 6 bottles or more. So that would require a box. Of course, we sell 1 to 2 bottles for people that are walking or biking, but a lot of people do bring their vehicle to our store. Almost 50% of our revenue goes into a carried box at some size, and so yeah, it's a huge revenue driver for us to sell things in bulk, and we certainly do.
Yeah, thanks for that insight. I really like I like the ideas of exploring some traffic calming coupled with, we have looked at that at a high level, but we haven't drilled down into that real deep yet. I kind of like that, taking another pass and seeing if there are things we can do in combination that could help us maybe achieve a couple goals at once. Brandon, are you available?
Yeah, I can put in a couple words for you guys. Listening to Mark and Sarah, I really 100% agree with that. The idea of a stop sign on 37th might be a very, very big helping factor for us. Just to slow the traffic and I'm also, we do anywhere from 40 to 50, 60 haircuts a day in the shop. So, you know, whether it's short-term parking or long-term parking, like we more are just involved, like more worried about losing all of it in general. Like we just can't have no parking in general because people aren't going to walk 30 minutes to come get a 30-minute service from us, you know, like especially when there's another shop up the road that they can walk to from their house or whatever it may be. It's just one of those things that we just moved over here and we're just starting to deal with, you know, being at a place where we actually had parking and felt super comfortable about it, and it would be a real bummer to lose it again to and I'm with it. Like the bike lane's not a bad idea, but I feel like maybe, I don't know, ideas we had were maybe involving Zuni for one way and Tejon for the other way. I don't know. Maybe maybe eliminating parking on one side instead of parking on both. I don't know. I'm not real good. I'm not a city planner, but you know, I just know that it would really, really hurt our business if we couldn't have some sort of parking.
Everyone, I'm just going to note super quickly, we have a under 3-minute warning. So that's where my fingers were up with that.
Oh, okay. I'll shut up.
No, you're
great.
good.
Yeah.
You're good. I don't want to cut anyone off. Just the breakout rooms will just suck you away when it's finished. Just FYI.
Yeah. So a couple minutes for a little more input, and this isn't the last time we'll get to talk. So we're just trying to get an initial reaction and some ideas. Anybody else have any ideas or anything to share? Rachel, I see you.
Yeah, I can pop in. So my office, when I used to be able to go to work, was downtown, and I would either scooter or bike downtown. And after, I think the construction on, does it turn into 16th there between Central, like where Tejon turns, like with the construction that had been going on for the last year, that road got so narrow, it felt super unsafe for me. So I actually found an alternative route and would like go way around and go under the freeway and like come around by the park and like go through Confluence Park and then eventually get downtown. So I think there are alternatives to like Tejon. I guess my question is like, does it have to be Tejon, or can it be a side street that we turn into like a neighborhood bikeway? And I think Chris, I mentioned that in my email, like I used to Portland, Oregon, and we did something similar where it's like the next street over from a busy street became the bike street. So like, I think everybody agrees people go way too fast on Tejon. And like, even if we had one side of the street parking, I would be nervous as a customer to like have to run across the street to go to Cask and Craft or go get my hair without any sort of traffic slowing mechanism.
All right, we're going to get, thanks, Rachel. We're going to get pulled back in about 10 seconds. I want to thank you all for being civil and having a great discussion about this. We take it seriously. We'll regroup in a couple seconds and chat.
Just to note that everyone is on or is remuted when you enter the breakout or the main room. So for our speakers too.
There we go. I think, welcome back, everybody. If you came back, you'll be muted automatically. So if you need, if you're presenting or something, let me know. What we want to do now, we had a great chat in our breakout room, and it was really informative. and appreciated the civil tone and everything, and just good to get feedback. I think we want to do is just kind of go around to the breakout room leaders and just get a quick high level take on, you know, what the discussion was like, maybe a couple key issues, and maybe what's left in the parking lot. Like what are some ideas that came up for us to look at. So why don't we start with Michael Koslow in breakout room 1.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so we had a chance to talk with a couple folks between 39th and 46th Avenue, Lily's Bath and Biscuits, the Highlands Health, and the Colorado Legal, I'm sure I'm going to butcher it, Defense Fund, and also a resident and on the corridor. Some of the things that we heard, despite the best of my hoping, there's very few patrons of the businesses that arrive on bike. In reality, there's a lot of needs for loading for the businesses. Obviously for a health clinic, folks would need to have the ability to be able to get to the business without having to go across the street, that kind of thing. Another issue that came up had to do with the maintenance of the bike lanes themselves. We kind of talked about, hey, once we install these as a city, we're going to have to plow them, sweep them, make sure that they are able to be used. And I think that's probably, those are the key 2 issues that we had in number 1.
Super. Thanks, Michael. And just so everybody knows, we're going to capture all these notes and share back out to everybody, so you'll be able to see what we talked about in every group and kind of get that full picture. So I was the leader of breakout room 2, which was 35th to 39th. We had a few residents and a few businesses there, and had I thought a really good discussion about the dilemma, or sort of I guess it's a dilemma, but wanting to have better bike facilities versus the impacts to local business and parking. The kind of big themes in ours were that 38th is really a barrier in this segment. So you can't really think of parking north of 38th as really serving the place south of 38th, because 38th is so busy and people don't feel safe crossing. And then there isn't any parking on 38th. So the businesses right in that, right there near 38th, are really dependent on Tejon right now, and the side street parking isn't that useful to them. Some of the ideas that we had, I'll just say a couple. So we had asked to look at, could we combine some traffic calming elements with the bike lane elements? People were really interested in a stop sign at 37th because the speeds are so high from leaving 38th heading south on Tejon, and trying to address that. And maybe that was a way we could work together to try to find some common ground. But yeah, the common ground was, we really like bikes. We want them to be able to be safe and go, but we need to survive. And please help us figure that out together. So that was breakout room 2. Breakout room 3 was Geneva.
Thanks. It's really fun seeing everyone's faces. So we had a really good group, maybe 15 of us, 20, and great conversation. Definitely lots of concerns with the parking, and already feeling like parking is challenging on Tejon. And we mostly had residents in our group, and people who live really close to 35th and Tejon and see kind of all of the bridal shop and the little bars and restaurants there that are bringing a lot of people, and also meaning that there are certainly some parking concerns. Heard a lot about safety with for staff who might work late at night and are trying to then get to their cars. Decent amount of conversation about routes and saying maybe Shoshone makes more sense. But if we do that, how do we link that to other bikeways? A couple of people talked about that east-west routes in Denver tend to be pretty good, and it's those north-south routes that are lacking. Really good conversation about the quick pickups that people see with Uber and Lyft and Grubhub, and needing to use curb space in different ways. And then talking about kind of the busy times that people are seeing in that area of definitely commuting, but also evenings and weekends, and recently maybe more so for lunches as well. So that's what we heard.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Geneva. That's a good summary. And then Breakout Group 4, which was the 16th piece, Jen.
Yes, so our segment is a little different. It hasn't gone through the planning phase like what I call the northern segment of Tejon. We haven't gone through the data gathering to really look at traffic speeds, volumes, curb uses, accident data. So our discussion tonight was, I think, really insightful to talk to some of the business owners from Ratio and Metal Mark, and to get their perspective. You know, they're on the ground floor there. They see what's happening on the corridor every day. So we certainly had a good discussion about, you know, parking, a continued theme along this corridor, and really safety. I think lots of concerns about, you know, how do you find that balance? We talked to folks who bike this corridor, and we talked to folks who while they have businesses on the corridor and really rely on parking for the viability of their business, they also see, you know, a lot of safety concerns, particularly at 16th and Boulder and 16th and Central, kind of safety issues for everybody in those intersections. So I thought really good conversation about the different uses along this segment, and priorities for folks who use it.
Thanks, Jen. Yeah, that's really good and interesting, because I know that concept, you really have a firm concept, so it's good to get a lot of input that we can feed into that development process. So I'm gonna share my screen again. So I just want to spend a few minutes talking about how to stay engaged, what's going to happen next, and that this is, just emphasize, this isn't the last time or the only time that we're going to talk. I know it might feel like things are moving fast, but we intend to engage you guys and really try to problem solve this and figure out what is the best thing to do for everybody. So let me pull this up, and Geneva, maybe I have you kind of lead this discussion about how do we stay connected.
Definitely. So we have office hours, and you can sign up you go online to the bit.ly Denver Moves networks. We have a ton of information there. You'll find it for all 3 of the networks, and you can find recordings of previous meetings. You can find concept designs, and that's also where you can sign up for office hours. We have a general inbox, Denver Moves at denvergov.org, and a project hotline. The email is probably the better way to contact us. We also look at the hotline, but the email seems to just go a little bit faster. And after tonight's meeting, we will provide you with a Q&A, recordings, and certainly better and more opportunities for engagement over the next couple of months. We also have resources for business support from the Denver Economic Development Opportunity Office. And we will be adding everyone's emails into our grander inform list, so you can stay up to date on all the project happenings from here on out.
Let me, I have one more slide to share at the final, but I want to recognize Councilwoman Sandoval. Sorry we didn't recognize at the beginning. I didn't see you in the meeting at first. I think you might have joined after, but feel free, go ahead. I know you had something you wanted to say.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Geneva. So I just wanted to say thank you all who joined virtually. I know that it was a change of plans, and it's different talking on this type of platform instead of actually talking in the built environment and being out there hearing you and getting suggestions. So I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you, and thank you to the project team. We really are doing our best to make sure that we're getting information out. And if you don't know, my family owns La Casita. We've owned and operated that restaurant for most of my life. My dad started it before I was even born. So small businesses are really important to me. And as these numbers climb with COVID, and as we start seeing more cases than when we even had the first initial stay-at-home order, I just want you all to know who own a small business on this call and who have been impacted, that I have the most respect and utmost respect for the work that you're doing and how you make Northwest Denver such an amazing place to work and live. And I really hope that we can come to a good conclusion with this corridor and find something that works for all of us, and not just some of us, but all of us. And in that vein, I've found throughout the work that I've done, sometimes we don't make everybody happy, but we have to come to some type of consensus. So I just want to please stay engaged. Thank you for those who have signed up to, for the Denver Moves at denvergov.org. I'm in constant contact with the project team. But if you need to reach out to me and you feel like you need to have your voice heard, sometimes not everybody can speak up in these type of situations. So if you want to have a one-off with me, just feel free to contact me. And I just want to say thank you, Dottie, for transitioning to this Zoom call as quickly as we could. As we all know, COVID has impacted the minority community disproportionately than any other community. And although we may not see a lot of Latinos on this call, Northwest Denver still does have a lot of Latinos. And so this is a scary time for all of us. So I know everyone's doing the best that we can right now, given we have a global pandemic. And I just want to say thank you all for showing up. I know this isn't the most exciting way to spend your Thursday evening, but I really appreciate it. Hearing from my constituents and hearing from my community, that's why I ran, is to listen to you all and to attempt to mitigate issues that come forward. So thank you all.
Thanks. Thank you, Councilwoman Sandoval. Appreciate those remarks. Those are good closing remarks, I think. There's one more slide I wanted to bring up for you here, just so I'll just leave this up as we close so that you have a clear act. You can take a picture of this or a screenshot or whatever. Please reach out to us. Please stay engaged. We'll try to make it as easy as possible. We're totally willing to talk to everybody one-on-one. And we are, just like Councilwoman Sandoval said, we're trying to find something that works for everybody and meets the goals of Denver to increase mobility and safety and make things work for everybody. So thanks everybody for your time. I'm sure we'll talk again soon, and have a good evening.